Oh, you have to begin doing your volunteer assignments now. Volunteer assignments at the reunion can be almost anything, and I will discuss the details of that. But I do want to emphasize that the most important volunteers that you want at the reunion are the cleanup people. Lots of people can help with cleanup. And if there's somebody who lives far away and they're coming and they haven't been able to participate ahead of time, they haven't been able to be on the committees, they haven't offered anything ahead of the reunion, they really should help with cleanup. And I'm a great one for shame and guilt. Don't worry about it. Shame them and guilt them, but get them to help you. And you should not be the person cleaning up. But you are, aren't you? Well, see, what do I know about reunions, huh? I cleaned up. I was the last person to clean. I was the one who cleaned it all up. Sure. I didn't do a very good job of that myself. Their flights all left early. And I stayed a day behind so that I made sure it was all cleaned up. I just did a podcast about recruiting and assigning volunteers that's on the site. So if you take the time to listen to that, and the podcasts usually, they're not long. They last anywhere from 5 or 6 minutes to, I think, 10 or 11, I think is the longest. So you can either listen on your computer or you can download it to an MP3 player or you can get iTunes. And if you subscribe to iTunes, you will get the podcasts as soon as they go up. You won't even have to go looking for them. We'll send them to you. But there are all kinds of volunteer day activities that we have in podcasts now, too. Okay, now we're really getting close. And speaking of getting close, I didn't look at my watch when I started. Does anyone know? Huh? 20 minutes? Okay, go. Good. 10? I always think I have like 5 minutes done and I have another 55 to go. Okay, now see, I'm rushing through this. This is the reason we've divided it into 2 parts this time, because last time I raced through and I sort of feel like the second part is where a lot of your questions are, so we're going to be able to just concentrate on that stuff. In terms of your lists and that kind of stuff, you're going to make lists, shopping lists of what you need to buy, and that you have to keep going all the time, right up until the day of the reunion. Don't forget the beer. Again, you're reconfirming your accommodations. I can't say that enough, so that you make absolutely sure that everything is where you had everyone had agreed it was going to be. And reviewing your checklists, 2 weeks out is probably a little unrealistic because you're going to be doing that on the way to the reunion. Your clipboard in your arm. Okay, now we're at the reunion. Most of you do have registration tables. That's something people who don't live close by can do. Registration, welcoming, setting up any of these things that we've talked about. Displays, usually families have, many families have genealogy and family history materials that they want to share. I assume at this point most families have hospitality suites. So you do have one room where everything can be set up and where it's your room for the duration of the reunion. That's usually where families have some snacks and where people can come just to sit around and talk. Lots of families keep board games and some things there so that kids can be entertained. If you have, you should have signage of some kind directing people to the reunion. You don't want people getting lost, even inside a hotel. If you can get signs, and if the hotel particularly can do signs for you, hotels. If you're decorating, I didn't, but a lot of families do. Now here comes that, I wish people would thank me thing. Because right up until the very end, you're the one who's the cheerleader. You're the one who's thanking people constantly thanking them for doing the registration, thanking them for picking up papers, thanking them for whatever. When you know full well that they should be thanking you. But life isn't that way. And most of you are mothers and you know that. Okay. Now at this reunion, I sure do hope you enjoy it. Because you verify that you enjoy it because you wouldn't do it again if you didn't. And most people turn right around and, you know, you may, excuse me, bitch and complain, but you are going to do it again. You're going to do it again for all those same reasons of getting the kids together and getting the elderly generation together and making sure that the family stays connected. Now, this is just sort of a recap, and much of this stuff we'll be talking about in the next section as well. On reunion day, the reunion days themselves, you need registration, you need kids' activities. The swimming pool is not enough, because kids will enjoy that, that's what they'll look forward to, that's what you're going to use to get them there. But it's not going to keep them there. And they certainly can build a swimming pool every day. But again, you do have to have some other activities. The worst thing that can happen is, and the first time it happens, you're going to sort of bristle, because a kid is going to walk up to his parents and say, when can we go home? And, you know, when is this going to be over? When are we going to whatever? So you're going to want to have some way of entertaining the kids. And kids say that they don't want to go because they don't know any other kids. Kids very young now have MySpace and Facebooks. Well, Facebook, I guess they can't. But kids can communicate online. Back in the day, I was aware and told lots of family reunions about one where a teenage kid set up a little newsletter, a little rudimentary thing, sent it to all the kids in the family, no matter how old, even the infants. Asked them to send a little questionnaire, what do you like to do, what grade are you in, what do you like in school, blah, blah, blah. And then sent that out before the reunion so that no one could say they didn't know anybody there. The reality is if they went over these questionnaires, they knew everybody there. Families do talent shows, I'm sure many of you do, banquets, picnics, games, sports, and golf. Practically every reunion has some kind of a worship or memorial service. Business meeting is really, really important. And that doesn't have to be a long thing, that can be very short, and it can also incorporate lots of other things, like the business meeting can incorporate those things about who came the furthest and who has the most family members there, and some of those award things. Tours and entertainment, eating and drinking, and then back to cleanup again. I mean, cleanup seems to be, it's what I remember.